Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing you a very special video, something a little bit different, I guess, to what we've been doing on the channel recently. Most of the videos have been me hyping up Dune, but I am here once more to hype up another film. Maybe we'll be talking about Dune Part 2 next year, this time of year for some awards, but it is the BAFTAs. The broadcast has come and gone. The ceremony was even earlier today. I have had to disappear off the internet because for some bonkers reason, still never justified, they are still not being shown live. So it is one of them weird ones where outlets online, Twitter, everywhere knows who's won. But if you want to watch it properly, you have absolutely no chance on earth of being able to watch it. So I have in front of me a schedule where I have a list of all the winners. I'm going to be going through the awards from the night. I'm going to be talking about some other moments. And as well as that, I'll be going through any comments people may have. So please do comment your thoughts on the BAFTAs if you watched it tonight, if you've been following the winners, or what your thoughts are on award season so far. Do comment and let me know. I'll try and bring them up as and when I can on the stream. And aside from that, we obviously have a lot more Oscar stuff coming before the big day on Sunday, March 10th, which is 3 weeks away now. It's the SAGs next week and a few other things to do in between now and then. But as always, if you want to find out about other videos, what else we're working on, go get us on our social medias, linktree.com/cinemasavvy, and you can get a link to our Rebel store in the description, which has all of our merchandise. At this point in time, we don't have any Oscars merch, but we do have a Cinema Savvy logo somewhere for Oscar stuff, I think. But as I mentioned, I am flying solo today on this video. I'm going to go through the winners, but firstly, I want to talk something else with the BAFTAs, something that I have, I think, spoke about in the past. I've just ranted about the awful broadcasting that it's not live. I want to talk something else recently last year, and this is a really big thing for me, and I don't normally get on the high horse, the patriotism act of the film awards ceremonies. The Oscars are still the biggest and always will be, but I have a very special place in my heart for the BAFTAs. Not only is it being the British Film Awards for the year, the big one, but also in the past I used to attend red carpets with Charlie that's been on the channel, so I've always had a lot of fun with the BAFTA events. Something that no one would care about that was watching, but for some reason unknown, this is still being done at the Royal Festival Hall. I don't know why they're not at the Albert Hall anymore. You've got one of the most prestigious award ceremonies, and we're going to some grotty venue in London, which really needs a good deep clean on the outside. And I just don't understand why this isn't at the Albert Hall. It's such a ridiculous thing for me to be moaning about, but it frustrates me every single year that I see it. I don't know why. The red carpet looks awful on the cameras. It's just something off about how the BAFTAs has changed, and maybe it's because I'm more invested with the clean sweep winner for this year. But I'll be talking about that. But as I mentioned, do comment your thoughts. Am I just losing the plot? Who knows? And also a massive shout out to David Tennant once again, bringing on a fantastic host. Last year was a weird one. We had obviously the duology of Richard E. Grant, who was amazing, and Alison Hammond, and I think she was done a rough deal by basically interweaving with the TV slots, basically the American ad breaks, and it really disrupted the rhythm of the show. Richard Grant was amazing at the audience side of it, being in the auditorium. So when they announced David Tennant, I was quite excited. I thought that's a great host. He can do the humor. He's got respect of everybody in that room. They've all seen him in something. I'm sure they will have. If you haven't, I'd be traumatized. But it's one of them where it's a host that made sense. And how he did his hosting duty on the night, it was pretty great. I'm sure I'll be talking at some point about the awards that aren't televised. It's still something that rubs him the wrong way. Of course, a 2-hour broadcast, 7 till 9. And I think Tennant said at the start it's a 3.5-hour broadcast. Well, not broadcast, a 3.5-hour event for those in attendance. So there's always going to be that conversation. Not everybody likes watching awards shows in full, but some people do, and a lot of people do. And the Oscars are always live, the SAGs are live, the Golden Globes are live, the Emmys are live, but no, not the BAFTAs. And I'll be talking about that when we get to some of the awards that I think are quite disgracefully chucked into a highlight reel that you get at the start of Match of the Day. But I need to stop venting. And like I said, that was a weird segue from talking about David Tennant. It's weird doing these discussion ones solo. I'm used to doing it, but I'm not used to doing it on a smaller laptop screen. So it's one of them where stick with me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through the awards. I'm not going to go through the nominees. I'm just going to talk about whoever's won, say the name of them, but maybe have a chat on my thoughts. I haven't seen all of these, so that's a couple of awkward ones. I'll be talking about the award itself. I know that casting, for example, is going to be a new Oscar next year. And it's great the Oscars have added one new award. They're still missing stunt coordination, which we must hope about another time. But there's some great ones here that I always enjoy that BAFTA does take quite seriously. And that is stuff like the Rising Star, like the Outstanding British Debut, all that sort of stuff. So, as I mentioned, I have watched the broadcast. I have basically gone straight from watching it on BBC One to editing a thumbnail. Don't ask me how I got the Cillian Murphy holding the BAFTA statue already. No, it wasn't AI. I have access to the BAFTA press room, so I had to like freeze frame a video to get a photo to Photoshop into this to spread around. So maybe tomorrow there'll be a higher res, a better version of Cillian holding that BAFTA. But for now, it's going to have to do. And that is sometimes the tricky thing about doing these streams so close after a broadcast has ended. But let's start talking some of these awards because also it's Sunday night, it's 9:30. So fair play to anyone watching this, especially if you're here in the UK. I'm sure you've all got better things to do, but thank you. I do appreciate it. And also I'm having a terrible headache. So just don't worry about that. But let's talk about Best British Short Animation, won by Crab Day. Every year I say this, I don't see the shorts, not intentionally. That sounds really unfair. I just never really get time. I haven't seen every film that I'm going to talk about today, which is really frustrating. There are like 2 more films I think I need to watch in my head to complete Oscar season. We owed a couple more reviews on this channel. But Crab Day did win Best British Short Animation, and Best British Short Film was won by Jellyfish and Lobster. Once again, 2 awards that are chucked onto the highlight reel, the previously on BAFTA, even though it's live. And this is where I'm going to kind of go this, because I could moan about it, and some of the awards I'm looking forward to most end up suffering in this awkward segment. I despise this concept that they can't show them live. Some people think, is it because they might do political speeches? Some people think, is it because it's about broadcasting times? We're living in the year 2024. These ceremonies have gone on for decades. If Netflix can do a live ceremony of the SAGs next week, I'm pretty sure BAFTA can arrange for this to be done live too. I don't know why it's kept as a 2-hour runtime. I'm sure someone can tell me somewhere, but even if, people might not want that, do 2 at the same time. Have one channel broadcasting it live. Maybe, let's say BBC, if you're here in the UK, for example, keep it live on the BBC, put it on the iPlayer, let people watch the entire ceremony live. People would want to watch that. And also, it's just respectable. If you're bringing up all these people, we'll talk Nolan later on, of course, but for the best film, most of its awards we see tonight were shunned into a quick 30-second here and there. I don't just want to hear from the winners. I don't just want to see their speeches or see the clips from the films. I want to see the other nominees. I want to see what else is up for it and how the other people are. I think it's really frustrating when we don't get the chance to see those. Now, on Devil's Advocate, I understand that some people don't want to see that. They just want to see the winners, or they don't want to blow to the longer award show, which I also get. So the 2-hour runtime has its benefits, but there needs to be some adjustment of it, that it should really be live. Put it on BBC One, the 2-hour cut, but let other people have the option to watch this live at their own will, because, I shouldn't be avoiding Twitter, but I got an email come in at 10 to 8, I think, and it was the press release of every single winner. Now, I didn't open it. It just said the BAFTA winners for this year. To me, that meant, okay, let's hope I can get a thumbnail in time. But I just find it odd that you can go on social media, and if you've tried to watch it in the day, I know sometimes it's hard to avoid stuff, but American outlets, other outlets, they're being briefed on this because they have journalists that have jobs to do to report the news, which is understandable. I just don't understand why life has to be so difficult for this to be live. They mentioned Watershed as a joke in this. I'm sorry, but we've got it far easier than the Americans do on their award shows. So I just don't stand for any of that. Again, put it online, do something different. I'm just tired of it. And as I said, for a lot of the nominees, let's say you had a relative or a family or a friend member that's nominated, you might not even see them on the broadcast if they don't win. They're just chucked in yeah, they were there, but we didn't see them, we didn't hear about them, we didn't hear about the film, nothing. They're just there. And that footage is never going to be around for people to get to see, which I think is a massive shame and really unfair on those. But kind of segueing back to talking about some award stuff, though, I'm going to talk about Rising Star Award next. Obviously, the BAFTA, which is nominated by the British public, won by Mia McKenna-Bruce. Again, a pretty stacked list this year. Io Edeberry is the one I think a lot of people thought would win. Jacob Elordi people thought would win, but it has gone to Mia McKenna-Bruce. Now, I've not seen How to Have Sex. I've heard a lot about the story with it. I think she was on the dumping ground. I hope I'm not getting mixed up with one of the other nominees. So I really do like the Rising Star BAFTA. I don't mind it's nominated by the public too. It doesn't seem like a BAFTA that the popular people win every year. And that's always the worry with voted for by the public. Looking at you, hashtag best Oscars ever, when the Flash in the Snyder Cut was deemed the greatest cinema thing in history, or some extraordinary nonsense. So at least there's a bit of sensibility with The Rising Star. And I do like, and you look at the list of previous winners, and it has become quite a prestigious BAFTA. Had they've all gone on to do nothing, then you could see it's a flawed, failed BAFTA, but it's really not. And they love listing some of those winners every year. So massive shout out to that. Outstanding debut by a British writer, director, or producer. Now, that was one for Earth Mama, a film I have not seen, which I've heard about. Again, a lot of these I've missed. Even Outstanding British Film, I'm going to talk about. And this is an award I love, by the way. This is something where I think BAFTA has its real own identity that a lot of the other award shows are missing, is actually this award here. The problem with Outstanding British Film is that sometimes you should be questioning some of these films that are nominated. I'm looking at Napoleon, and I know this isn't the nominations. I'm going to talk about the winner in a moment, but I always find it peculiar how you can have a film with like an American cast, American financed, let's say set in France, or some of it was filmed in the UK. There might be a British director. There is a very finite list of boxes that have to be ticked to be put forward for this. And I think it should be done on a case-by-case scenario. But when you're seeing a film, let's say Napoleon, nominated with Rye Lane, there's a distinction between what I view a British film as versus what the voters do. And I'm always worried with this award if they gave it to something like American that's commercial. Wonka, for example, it's basically, a British film. Okay, it's Warner Brothers funded it, it's Timothée Chalamet, but it was shot here, it was produced here, most of its cast is British, the writers, the directors, everything on there. So I understand something like Wonka, but then you've got something like Scrapper, which is an independent British film. And I do like to see this award going out to maybe not the smaller films, the ones with smaller budgets, but maybe the ones that aren't commercially driven, the films people don't know of. Now, it was won by The Zone of Interest. I can't complain at that. It's one of the best films. Of all the ones I've seen that were nominated for this, it is the best one of those that I have seen. I'm not going to lie, I was terrified that Saltburn was going to win this and a few other things tonight. I don't know if that's because they had the song being sung live, they kept talking about it, but I just had this sort of panic that could Saltburn nab something because it's popularity. But again, BAFTA's come through with some great awards. And also, as an overview, there's like very few, not shocks, but very few controversial wins. I'll be talking about a couple of them, which I think are, and I'm going to add that, of course, it's my own opinion. This is the crazy thing about doing award season, where everyone is entitled to their opinion. We all have them. We all know how that works. But I always find it fascinating that some people can't look past their own opinions, that it's a collective that decide these. Maybe that's going to make me a hypocrite for what I moan about down the line. But it is always interesting when you see people discuss awards season, how their approach is. For example, The Iron Claw not being nominated for anything. A film I love, a film I think should have been nominated for best film, actually, if I'm being really honest. And I'll talk about it maybe on the Oscars night as to one of the 10 I'd have got rid of for that. And some people I've seen are saying Zac Efron should have won Best Actor, which I kind of respect that opinion. A lot of it comes down to the marketing, comes down to the release pattern, putting it through festival circuits, through festival runs. I know it's tricky with the strikes last year, but having the cast doing appearances, PR. If Saltburn, I genuinely believe, didn't go viral in December, once it went into Amazon, and fair play to Warner Brothers for getting it on Amazon very quickly. If that hadn't have blown up, I don't think this would have anything. Its cinema release sort of flattened. Not much happened there. They rushed to get it online, and they benefited from it. Obviously, it's got no Oscar nominations, which shows that sort of British bias for the BAFTA. And again, it is a British production. It's inherently a British cast and produced in that way. So it's a really intricate thing, award season. I'm not saying I'm better than anyone doing it. Absolutely not. There's channels dedicated to awards. There's amazing channels that do that. But then you get some other ones where it's just people's opinions and they can't look past that, which it's not. There's such a collective thing to look at with something such as The Sun. Yes, I understand straight away. It's so fucking snobby. But another one we'll talk about, Best Documentary, 20 Days of Mariupol. I've not seen this. I do want to give a shout out to Still, a Michael J. Fox film that was nominated. And the reason also why is that Michael J. Fox was in attendance. He presented Best Film. Quite a touching moment, if I'm honest, to have him brought out to do Best Film. To see him, how he is now, if you've seen the documentary, you'll understand that a bit better. It's really hard not to think about Curb Your Enthusiasm because there's another episode airing tonight. And of course, Michael J. Fox had some of the best guest spots in that series. But when you look at what he's done with his career, not just in acting, but the charity work and humanitarian work that comes with it, you're just sort of in awe, and that attendance wasn't. It's one of those great things where when they can bring on the right hosts or the presenters for awards, Michael J. Fox presenting Best Film absolutely made sense. Even with this film not winning today, it was a real great moment, and I think that's something people will speak about for years, is seeing Michael J. Fox. A lot of people that haven't seen that documentary don't know about that documentary. They've probably not seen what he looks like for decades or seen him in public appearances, and I think it'll be quite eye-opening for some that aren't too familiar. So if you haven't watched still a Michael J. Fox film, this is my plug to go watch on Apple, the best streaming service at the moment, which also has Master of the Air, which I'm going to keep plugging. But we also have Best Animated Film, which was won by The Boy and the Heron. I think this was one of the big surprises for the night. Now, again, I've not seen it. I've seen the other 3 nominations: Chicken Run, Elemental, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I think we all thought Spider-Verse was winning this, but there does seem to be a growing Boy and the Heron attachment with this award season. Obviously, the Oscars is nominated. What's really interesting was in the highlight reel, they did play the foreign language version. And I do wonder, and maybe this is a question for an Oscars video, but I do wonder when they send out these screeners to the voters back when the festival run was being done, I'd be very curious, the Oscar vote, to see if they got the American dubbed version or if they got the foreign language version. Not that I think that'd have any difference to me personally in watching the film, but I reckon it would for certain voters. But I would say it's a big, big shock to see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse not winning Best Animated Film, especially knowing that it isn't going to be the final film from The Boy and the Heron director too. And kind of sticking with foreign language, let's talk Best Film not in the English language. Absolutely no surprises to what won this here. The Zone of Interest, an incredible film, the trickiest review I think I said I'd ever done on the channel. I've really struggled with that review, if I'm being honest. And I'm not arrogant in saying I'm good at doing reviews, but I'm normally pretty confident to camera. From a technical craft, it's one of the best things I've seen. But there are times of that film where it's not my thing. Spending time with that family, the current atrocities, all this sort of stuff, I didn't gel with The Zone of Interest, aside from appreciating its craft. And that's a weird thing to say, given the sort of films I spoke about on the channel and what I normally watch. But it's a really weird one for me. Not a weird one to be winning this. I still need to watch Anatomy of a Fall, which has picked up a few other things tonight. And there will be a review on that and Past Lives out by the time of the Oscar ceremony. I guarantee that. They both need to be up on the channel. But moving on from that, we've got Best Makeup and Hair, which was won by Poor Things. And there's going to be a bit of a streak in a moment, because Poor Things would then win Best Costume Design, and it would then win Best Production Design. So that's 3 in a row on my own schedule. And I'm going to kind of talk about Barbie briefly, which I think I'm sure picked up 0 BAFTAs today, and I'm very curious to see what it will win at the Oscars, aside from Best Original Song. But these are some of those awards that were relegated to the previously on BAFTA. And it's just really, again, frustrating that you look at a film like Poor Things, and there might be people watching that haven't seen it that might see a film winning all these awards as an advert to go to the cinema and watch it, if it's still being shown. I don't know if it's still on at cinemas, if it will end up on Disney before the Oscars. It could be one of those strategic type things. But again, you're relegating this craft, and it's a pretty big part of the filmmaking process. Again, makeup and hair and costume design and best production design. The other nominees across those categories were some of the big heavyweights, which we knew about, but I think it's, again, a slap in the face to see those given out on a different platform, essentially. Not as bad as the Oscars when they relegated it to pre-red carpet wins that a couple of years ago, but still, it's frustrating for the viewers that maybe want to see the speeches in full and whatnot. And I'll talk about Poor Things again. Maybe this is one of my biggest issues of the night. Best Special Visual Effects, not won by the creator, won by Poor Things. I think this is one of the very, very, very rare occasions they got it massively wrong tonight. In fact, I'd say they got this one embarrassingly wrong. Poor Things does not have better visual effects than the creator. It does not have better special visual effects than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I can understand it being better than Mission Impossible. I also understand Napoleon. I'll be honest, I don't think Napoleon should have been nominated, if I'm being really honest for this. But I cannot get over the creator not winning this over Poor Things. Godzilla -1 wasn't nominated. Now we've got a different launch here in the UK. Maybe it didn't qualify, but I'm gobsmacked at this one. I'm nothing against Poor Things itself. It's a phenomenal film from a craft perspective. There's a really, again, weird review following the Zone of Interest in me and Charlie on that. It's a film that it's grown on me a lot more in the week since watching it. The more you think about it, it's one of those, and it is a fantastic film. And the craft, I mentioned production design, costumes, and makeup a couple of minutes ago, rightfully won those. Absolutely shouldn't. I just can't understand where this visual effects one's come from, if I'm being really honest. But moving on from that, we've also got Best Original Score, which obviously was won by Ludwig Göransson for Oppenheimer, and once again, something that was relegated to the, I don't know, is there a term for it? The highlight reel, the mid card? Like, I don't know what the right term would be to continue moaning about it, and I won't need to moan about it for another year until the BAFTAs roll around in a year's time, but it's just one of them. I want to hear Ludwig Göransson's speech. I shouldn't be finding out he's won this after Nolan's already won Best Director. It doesn't make any logical sense for how they do this in the show. And again, soundtrack's a pretty important part of this award, of the film. You look at Oppenheimer, look at Identity, you have this incredible cast, these amazing leads, but people are talking about the music as much as other things. And without that, the film can't function. You look at how Ludwig approached this, how he scored it. I think it's just massively disrespectful. And the other nominees, because no one else wants to shed light on them, Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things, Saltburn, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Again, no idea what Saltburn's doing on that list, but it is on that list for some strange reason not known to mankind. Best Sound, won by The Zone of Interest, another worthy winner. Once again, you can't look at it from a craft perspective and have anything else not going for it. The sound is one of its most identifiable parts of the film. For varying reasons. Now, of course, BAFTA has always been just one BAFTA for sound, and the Oscars prior used to have two, and I quite liked the dynamic of two. But you look at the other nominees, Ferrari, Maestro, Mission Impossible, Oppenheimer, you really can't fault Zone of Interest for winning this one. And heading on to another important technical one, Best Editing, won by Oppenheimer. Here comes the sweep. We're going to start talking about it a lot more. And again, a sweep done in the I'm going to just keep calling it the pre-show now, even though it's during the show. The pre-show unaired segments. Oppenheimer winning Best Editing over Poor Things, The Zone of Interest, Killers of the Flower Moon, Anatomy of a Fall. Can't go wrong. It's a 3-hour film that felt quicker than some 90-minute films from last year, looking at U65. And the way in which the editing is done in this film, I cannot imagine it being done differently. That if you get the editing wrong, and I know we'll talk about the direction, everything over the next few weeks of what this film has been dominating across its award season, but the editing is so important in this, and I feel like editing as a technical award has actually been overlooked in prior years for the Oscars as well. And people have this obsession with cinematography, which is so important, but editing seems to have fallen at the wayside, where people rarely talk about the editing in films. And I'm not sat here being snobby, but it does make me sort of wonder. I'm an example of this, actually. You're 16 years old, you go to do film for the first time, and they go in the room saying, what does everyone want to be? And like, cinematographer. And that's because I've seen a few pretty shots in film. I don't know anything about lighting. I don't know anything about staging, how to shoot. But cinematography is pretty. And that's what people think at that age. And I think we're in this wayside now where when people are looking at cinematography, they're just looking at the shot composition and not actually looking at anything else. And I think there's so much more to cinematography. And in comparison to that, editing then falls under a bridge that I think, because you can't visually get an account, one perfect edit, like one perfect shot, it doesn't work visually to the eye. And editing is something, and obviously you've had embarrassment wins previously. I'm looking at the Oscars for Bohemian Rhapsody, which sort of discredits the award itself. But yeah, editing really, again, is something I think more people should speak about. And I love that Killers of the Flower Moon was nominated, but again, I can't go wrong for Oppenheimer. The fact that 4 scientists walking across a football field was made to feel intense by the editing and combination of a soundtrack is outrageous. But sticking with that, I've just mentioned cinematography. Another win for Oppenheimer, Hoyt van Hoytma. He spoke about celluloid, which was great to see in this. And this is kind of where I stand with this, that not that obviously I'm not a film school or anything anymore, but if I had the opportunity, like, that sounds really weird. I'm like hypothecating out loud. If I was making feature films, I would love to shoot on film, purely because I've never done it before. I've grown up in the digital age, the digital era, and it's almost alien to younger people. And obviously it's more expensive to shoot on film, but having seen more screenings of film as a format, I'm looking at the 70mm Oppenheimer at the BFI. I've got tickets booked to see Dune in the exact same way. Hoyt van Hoytma spoke in his speech about, I think, 4 of the 5 either best film nominees or best cinematography nominees were all shot on film. And I think it's a really incredible thing. And when you're looking at preservation, which is where is a massive part of the industry, which again is forgotten about, and Scorsese is sort of one of the cheerleaders for that, if you will, for people that are learning new things about it. The restoration of old film, preserving cinema. shooting on film is so much better. And even when I'm doing home media stuff behind me, there's no coincidence now that as we've reached the 4K era, films that were shot digitally in 1080p are starting to drop off in quality on these 4K restorations. Yet something shot on film from 70, 80 years ago looks so much better because obviously celluloid can be developed. I think 35mm can go as far as like, I don't know, like 7, 8K, I think I've read in the past. Someone can quote me if I'm wrong. So it's interesting to talk about. And the fact they developed black and white IMAX film just for Oppenheimer. Not that's the reason you should win, but there's varying reasons as to why Oppenheimer should have won this. And I'm glad it has. And it feels like things are coming together for this film for this award season. And kind of sticking with this a little bit more, let's talk best adapted screenplay. The biggest surprise of the night for me, bar special visual effects, American Fiction winning Best Adapted Screenplay. Now, it went up against All of Us Strangers, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, The Zone of Interest. I couldn't believe this won this. And I was really happy for it. I think the screenplay was phenomenal. I think it's a great film. I think it's had an awful UK release, and I wasn't expecting it to get anything at BAFTA. Whereas I did think maybe this is the sort of film that can nab something at the Oscars with the American audience and how it's obviously been around longer there. I'm really happy it won. Shocked it won, but shocked in a good way that it's got a fantastic screenplay, the writing, the dialogue, the story itself, of course, combined with the performances and the direction. But I'm quite happy with this as a winner. Obviously, you've got three juggernauts in Oppenheimer, Poor Things, The Zone of Interest, which didn't win this award. And I think I thought it would be Oppenheimer or Poor Things, if I'm being really honest with you. Maybe that split the vote and American Fiction triumphed due to that, possibly. But I am surprised. Part of me is gutted because obviously it would have made Nolan a triple winner for tonight, quadruple, including his fellowship earlier this week. But I can't complain of American Fiction, a film I absolutely loved. And sticking with original screenplay now and before winning, not a surprise to anybody. I don't think, again, I've not seen it. There'll be a review on the channel. I'd have loved a bit of Love for Past Lives, but you can't go wrong. And I think this has been one of the strongest Oscar years, certainly since I've been watching and following these awards year to year. You cannot fault it. But let's talk some more. Let's move into some performances. I mentioned Best Casting earlier, a new award, if we will. This is something I quite like. I know the Oscars are doing it next year, and I'm a bit perplexed. The Holdovers won Best Casting, which I respect. It's got a great cast. The other nominees being All of Us Strangers, Ant with a Fool, How to Have Sex, Killers of the Flower Moon. Now, Killers of the Flower Moon, we're not going to speak about. I don't think it won anything, actually. I still don't know how it could be nominated for Best Film. Best Supporting Actor, I guess Best Cast, but you don't nominate Lily Gladstone. You don't nominate Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm actually against that, not being nominated, but you don't nominate Scorsese for Director. That I am fully against. And I find it odd that because the Flower Moon has had such a weird back and forth at BAFTA. I'm really perplexed at some of its lack of nominations. And I think this will be different at the Oscars. Maybe it will only win one still for actress at the Oscars. But yeah, the Holdovers winning Best Casting, can't complain against nominations. But I'm just going to say the obvious. How is Oppenheimer not on Best Casting? Have you fucking seen the casts? Like, and also 2 of the acting awards are won by Oppenheimer today, which sort of doesn't make sense. But I don't know how you can look at Best Casting and not instantly put Oppenheimer at the top of that list. Not just because it's an ensemble, but you look at the people involved, the roles they're playing, the real life counterparts maybe as well, and that cast, the impact it had. I just cannot believe it's missed out there, but that wasn't even a nomination. So let's move on to the actual acting awards. Best Supporting Actor, to no surprise at all, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. This is probably the most locked-in award of the entire award season. I'm delighted for him. I think he won the BAFTA in 93 or 94 for Chaplin, a film I've still not seen. I know that his press tour for the award season, he spoke a lot about, how his life's turned out, how he's sort of very, what's the right words? Like, not like respectful of Christopher Nolan, but he joked about Nolan basically bringing him back as an actor again today. And I don't read it as a dig at Marvel for those that have it. It's absolutely not a dig at Marvel, but I think it's an actor that's kind of shocked and bewildered at the role he was put forward for and how it's come out for him, being one of his biggest career triumphs of an incredible career, by the way. But if his acting Oscar is to come from Oppenheimer, rather than a character he played for 12 years or playing Charlie Chaplin or something like Tropic Thunder, a comedy role, you've got to sort of give it to him and I guess his shock at being put forward in that role. But his performance is undoubtedly the best of the 6 for supporting actor here at BAFTA. Obviously, absolutely love Ryan Gosling at Barbie. I wouldn't have ever complained if he won. I probably would have actually, but it's just amazing seeing him nominated for that, if I'm being really honest. And supporting actress won by Davine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Again, I can't fault this. I loved her in the film. She's got probably the best scene in respect of her performances. And where I kind of go, this is maybe more of an Oscars discussion, but sometimes a standout scene is what can get a nomination. And the Oscars is a completely different complex, but that's more of the America Ferrera versus Margot Robbie type thing. But Davine Joy Randolph, I thought, if this is going to be one of the BAFTA ones that doesn't happen, it would have been this. And I thought they might have gone with Emily Blunt on the basis that she's British, of the fact it's Oppenheimer, and that I thought Oppenheimer's sweep here at BAFTA. But it's great to see that they're not as predictable, I guess, as I thought they could be with respect to putting forward that British talent. So, and also she gave one of the best speeches of the night, which was amazing. So fair play to her. And kind of heading into the last big ones, Best Actor, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, absolutely no doubt in my mind. There was a part of me that's scared about Paul Giamatti. I think because did he win the Critics' Choice Award, which sort of sums up how irrelevant film to it really is. I love Paul Giamatti. I love that he won the Golden Globe. I feel like they're trying to spice up a potential Oscars battle. I'd be really surprised if Cillian Murphy doesn't win Best Actor at the Oscars. I was convinced he'd win at BAFTA, British actor. Again, I know Oppenheimer's obviously not a British film, but you look at the cast, you look at the crew who's involved, and their reputation over here. I'm in that mindset. I thought Oppenheimer would do better at BAFTA than Oscars, but who knows? We'll find out in 3 weeks and a couple of hours' time. And also sticking with this Best Leading Actress, Emma Stone wins for Poor Things. Can't complain. Not seen anything before. I know a lot of people wanted Sandra Huller to win for that. When I've seen that, I guess I can give my actual opinion on that. But from the ones I have seen, which is I think 4 of these 6, you can't go wrong with Emma Stone. She's phenomenal in that film. No matter your thoughts on Poor Things, Emma Stone's performance is absolutely sensational, and it's one that's going to, I think, live long in the memory for many, many other people. And I can't remember if this is her first or second BAFTA. I can't remember if she won BAFTA for La La Land or only the Oscar. But moving into Best Director, Christopher Nolan, obviously, dead set locked. If he hadn't have won this, I'd be traumatized. I think everyone would be traumatized. He directed the best film of last year, if I'm being honest. Who else could possibly win? I thought Jonathan Glazer has a chance. There's only interest to pick up a couple of awards today. And the direction of the film is unbelievable. But I just can't see anything stopping Nolan. This is his year. It's the film his career is built toward, and it's very much how the story of Oscar season is going this year. So obviously I'm delighted for him. And then naturally sweeping Best Film as well. Oppenheimer winning Best Film. A fantastic category. Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, The Holdovers, and Anatomy of a Fall. Some big films missing out. I know it's going to be a big thing at the Oscars that there's 10 nominees, but Oppenheimer winning that, again, no surprise for me. I think it's rightfully winning that. And it's a great moment to see Nolan on stage with his partner, the crew, the cast, not everyone wanting to go up on stage, which is really respectable as well when Emma Thomas is obviously trying to encourage them to go up, but they don't want to, and also shouting out their son, which was a really little nice thing. So it must be something when you've got a couple such as that who met at uni studying and wanted to make films that have gone on to have the career they've had together. Probably one of the best producer-director combos in Hollywood of the last couple of decades. And again, let's give massive credit to Universal here for taking the risk on Oppenheimer. Not that I'm giving some award speech, but there's only a couple of years ago that there were murmurs of all people on being cynical that Nolan wants X, Y, and Z in his contract for his new film. Warner Brothers followed it. They gave him the power, and look how they're being repaid by that $959 million off a $100 million budget, sweeping the award season, one of the biggest films of our lifetimes in respective of award seasons too. So let's see how it goes in a couple of weeks. But that is going to do it for me talking about the winners. I didn't really have much else to say, if I'm being honest. I've been going for over half an hour. The BAFTAs, as I said, it's a British thing for me where I do like these awards. I know they are the precursor. I know the SAGs are next week. I don't really care about those. I know the Screen Actors Guild is very important, especially the strikes last year. But really, the BAFTAs are the big one before the Oscars. And I know we've got a lot of videos doing the next couple of weeks. So do stick around on the channel. There is going to be more. As and when those are announced, we'll put them on our social media feeds. linktree.com/cinemasavvy. You can then find our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd off there, Redbubble store for any merchandise. There's a lot of things happening on the channel. Yes, the BAFTAs have been and gone. The Oscars are 3 weeks, so we've got a lot of Oscar stuff to do. Dune Part 2 also releases in, I think, 12 days now here in the UK, Friday the 1st of March. I will be very lucky and will be seeing this film on Wednesday. I'll have a review up on the channel. this Wednesday slash, I guess, early hours Thursday morning here in the UK. I am obviously hyped to see it. It's my most anticipated film of this year by quite an incredible margin. We've got a few videos. Our Dune Part 1 deep dive went up on Wednesday with myself and Reese. Had a little list video for those that want to watch a couple of films related to Dune Part 2. They're trying to see some more work from the actors. There's an interview that will be up on the channel on Friday of next week with somebody very important to production of Dune. And when that goes up, that'll be on our social medias. But I'm excited to record that on Tuesday. And then, as I mentioned, the spoiler-free review will go up on Wednesday. We'll have a spoiler discussion a couple of days after the films come out, maybe the Wednesday after, give you all the weekend and a bit more to watch it. And there's going to finally be a review of Dune 1984 on the channel. Back when Part 1 came out, I said I'll watch Part 1. I'll watch the 84 version once I've seen Dune Part 2. Once I've seen the adaptation in full, then we will do a review on Dune 1984. And that's going to happen once Part 2 has been seen by myself. Martin's is looking forward to Dune Part 2. I'm in the same boat. I hope you enjoy it when the time comes. Tickets are on sale for those that are curious. I mentioned I'm going down to the BAFTA IMAX to watch it. I've also got normal IMAX tickets booked for my local as well on that opening weekend. So a lot of Dune stuff happening on the channel, a lot of Oscar stuff happening on the channel. Maybe this time next year we'll be talking about Dune Part 2 at the Oscars. Who knows? It's far too early to even consider stuff like that, if I'm being really honest. But that is going to do it for this video today. I want to thank everybody that's been watching at home, that's been watching along, those that commented as well. If you're not watching live, you can drop a comment. We'll pick them up. Those that have followed us amongst the award season this year, it's been great to do. It's a bit different doing BAFTAs, but I quite like that. Obviously, I wish we could have a little bit more. We've got a couple more reviews to do. I mentioned Past Lives and with a Fool. When we've got those up on the channel, they'll be up on the channel. And then a couple of other discussion videos should be going up as well. So that's going to do it for today. Thank you all for watching. And I'll be sure to see you on the next one. Take care.